Hi, Reese Terrio here, bringing you another episode of How to Create Leverage. If you like this content, you can find us at wecreateleverage.com. Check out our YouTube channel or find us on LinkedIn. So today's whole segment is going to be on how to understand and sell and market to two different markets. The two primary different markets are business to consumer and business to business, or B2C and B2B. And the people within these markets care about totally different things. They're similar in a lot of ways, but different in a lot of ways. So we're going to touch on the similarities, the differences, and then how to sell and market to them in different ways. So business to business markets are the buyers in these markets primarily stress value. They're more logical buyers, so they look for value. They're more logical. The buyers are professionals. And before I keep going, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the B2B market at large. So business to business markets primarily are businesses that create products and services and sell directly to other businesses. So they're buying products and services to put them into their own unique products or services, or they're buying them as tools, or they're buying them to fit into their supply chain, or things like that. B2C, or business to consumer, are businesses selling to consumers, average people. Think the last time that you went eat out on a town somewhere and you went to a restaurant. You were participating in a B2C marketplace where you were sitting down in a restaurant at a business but consuming the food that they were producing. You were the consumer eating at the restaurant. Now, that doesn't mean that restaurant isn't also a B2B buyer, right? Because they bought that food wholesale. They're buying the table you were sitting at, the chairs you were sitting on, the software used to run and market the store. So they're in the B2B space as well. Now, again, back to this, the buyers in the B2B space stress value. They're much more logical. They're professionals. They're much more informed. So selling to them is going to be a whole lot different than B2C. B2C buyers are less informed, oftentimes much more irrational in their buying, or illogical. Okay, so consumer markets, the people within these markets purchase goods and services for their own use or consumption, and they're highly influenced by their peer group. Okay, their peer group behavior. Word of mouth. Think about word of mouth marketing and how influential it is in the B2C space. Most marketing in the B2C space is created in such a way that people, the consumers, are marketing to other consumers because they know how influential peer groups are in the B2C space. It's not to say that in B2B peer groups are not important, but in business markets, these are firms, institutions, and governments. They acquire goods and services to use as inputs into their own manufacturing process, their day-to-day operations, or for the resale to their customers. And again, they stress value. So how do we sell to these or market to these two different groups? Let's say one thing first is that in both markets, the sweet spot in marketing or sales is that you want to serve them with a product or service that they both want and need. If you can do this, you actually generate a real desire. And a true desire is something that's going to be very propelling and compelling to purchase or sell or market a product. So, desire being said, how do you generate a desire on both sides? So when you're selling to business professionals, there's a certain process and protocol that you need to follow to sell to them. In B2C, there's different sales channels. There's also a process, but there's different sales channels that you'll use. So in B2B, you may reach people by email, phone, some social media, certain professional types of social media, through paid Google search, things of that nature. In B2C, you'll probably reach some people through Google or through social media, but you may reach more people through the newspaper, through word of mouth marketing, through their friends and family. So there's different channels that you'll reach these people through. Now, all that being said, in the B2B space, you have people that are really analyzing your products and services from a much more rational, logical sense. You really have to show them why there's more to gain than what you're asking them to give up. In other words, how is the return on investment there? In the B2C space, you can use a lot of different techniques in selling and marketing products like status, things like that, that kind of generate perceived value so that the value is there and they'll buy it. A lot of times people irrationally buy what they want in the B2C space. That's not to say B2B doesn't buy what they want, but oftentimes there has to be a quantifiable need there to justify the cost. So that concludes our segment between B2B and B2C markets. My name is Reese Terrio, and this is another episode of How to Create Leverage.